Chair lays out House Bill 2692 and recognizes Representative Campos to explain her bill.
Good morning, Chairman Kane and Vice Chair Anderson and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to lay out House Bill 2692 relating to activities exempt from structural pest control regulation. HB 2692 pertains to specific dispersal techniques for nuisance birds, which would be outlined in the Occupational Code under Pest Control Regulation in Chapter 1951. Nuisance birds like cackles are aggressive birds which roost in large flocks, damage property, spread pathogens, and are extremely noisy. These birds negatively affect urban tourism and create a serious public health concern. Texas already has strict regulation on the methods by which pest control services may be provided, but there are serious limitations due to federal protections, specifically the Migratory Bird Treaty Act of 1918, which protects all U.S. native birds from being killed, captured, or harmed, which are all expressly used in the regulated pest control services. HB 2692 seeks to provide an option for property owners, businesses, and other organizations to disperse nuisance birds in a way that does not interfere with the state-regulated pest control nor the federal protections in place. There are three specific techniques stated in the language of this bill. One, use of laser lights, noise-emitting devices, and recorded sounds operating at a volume that complies with any applicable municipal or county noise ordinance. For example, these non-invasive tactics, contracted by the San Antonio River Authority, redirect large nuisance bird populations from the River Authority sidewalks, which has helped migrate the amount of avian-derived E. coli from entering the San Antonio River. I am open for questions and respectfully reserve the right to close. I want to express that I am not about killing birds because I'm an animal lover, but sometimes they can be unhealthy and a little bit of a nuisance. So I reserve the right to close. Again, any questions?
Campos, members, any questions? Hearing none, we'll proceed to testimony. The chair calls Mr. Leo Pacheco, former Representative Leo Pacheco.
Thank you, committee. It's my pleasure. It's the first time I've been back. Yes.
You showed you registered as Leo Pacheco, and you're here on behalf of yourself, and you're testifying for the bill. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Proceed.
Yes. Thank you, committee. It's my pleasure. I haven't been back to the Capitol since the last session, and it's my pleasure to be here. This bill was filed by me last session, 2772, but just ran out of time, as we all know. It gets out late, received it late, thought it was a good idea, and put it through. As Representative Campos said, this bill is not about killing birds. It's actually the opposite, using laser lights. It's the same laser people use to play around with cats and stuff, but the birds don't like it. The other thing is using clappers, noisemakers. And the major hotels, downtown San Antonio, Riverwalk, are in favor of this bill so that the company downtown that does the cleanup can continue to do their job without having to go through a costly permit process. This is about less government and more freedom. And this is a problem that happens in Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, Austin, all over. There's lights. These are migratory birds. Texas happens to be right in their path. I live on the south side of San Antonio. There's a Walgreens on Military Drive and South Flores. People won't even park there at night when the grackles are there because of it looks like somebody's painting the parking lot white. And if you put your car there, it'll turn white. And so people are not allowed, even if on their own in the neighborhood, if they want to go and use a laser light to scare them away or use noisemakers or clappers to scare them away without having to go through a pest control company that has a permit. And we just think this is just a common sense bill to be able to allow the public to be able to scare birds without harming them.
Very good. Members, any questions? Mr. Pacheco? Yes.
So it's currently allowed, but you have to get a permit to do it?
Yes, to the pest control. And it's very costly.
And so who would do it going forward if this bill were to pass? Just the city would?
Well, right now, the company that has the contract downtown is called Block by Block. They work for Centro San Antonio, and so they're contracted, but they have to go through a process. And so they'll get some of the workers to go through the pest control apprenticeship program. Well, these workers will get their apprenticeship program, and as soon as they get that license, guess what? They lose the employee to go work at a higher industry. And so the cost of having to retrain and send it, it's just a very costly way of doing business right now. And we're just trying to simplify it.
All right, thank you.
Members, yes, Mr. Mish.
This is an issue in my district as well with egrets and herons that
Yes.
and homeowners will have them nest next to, kids walking to school or mailboxes. And so if somebody required to have the pest control license, then there's continuing education that has to go every year. So even if a homeowner wanted to go to that step currently, there would still be an ongoing cost, correct?
That is correct.
And
Certainly
so
as it
this
is.
would just allow people in their own homes and others to be able to safely keep birds without putting out poison. They would just be able to keep them from nesting, which then creates a problem for kids that are trying to get to school, things like that, correct?
That is correct. This is in no way, we are trapping, euthanizing, killing, or anything shocking. None of that is happening. That's not what this bill is for.
Just safely discourage them
Right.
from nesting.
Kind of like when you shoo a cat from your front yard, you shouldn't have to have a permit for that.
Perfect, thank you.
Members, any further questions?
Okay.
Thank you, Leo.
Thank you.
At this time, the
See you
chair
all.
calls Mr. John Kosh.
Good morning.
Thank you, Mr. Kosh, and we show you as representing, as Mr. John Kosh, representing the company Block by Block, and yourself, is that correct?
That is correct.
Please proceed.
Good morning, Chairman.
And you're
Committee.
for the bill, right?
I am for the bill,
Thank you.
2692. Thank you very much for having us and allowing us to speak to you today. I represent Block by Block. My company does do this bird abatement currently in San Antonio, and we're working to explore other opportunities. As the bill is structured, as the permit is currently structured, we do have to become pest control exterminator licensed personnel, and we have. We have in San Antonio. We're in compliance with all of the necessary requirements. The issue as we see it is we go through this extensive program to become licensed, and we don't use any of the required data that we collect. We're not killing birds. We're not shocking birds. We're not poisoning anybody. Everything that we do is non-lethal. There's no repercussion to the environment, to the waterways, the soil. There's no ill effects at all. As a matter of fact, any of us could walk into HEB right now and buy any number of poisons, Raid, any number of poisons to abate pests in our own homes. We don't use any of that. Our devices are there's no lethal or harmful effects. When we were here last time, we spoke 2 years ago, there was opposition that this would be a slippery slope to deregulation. We're not in favor of deregulation of the pest control industry. We believe that anybody that uses a material that is harmful to our environment, to animals, to the public, should be regulated. But again, we don't fall under that category. We're providing only a laser light and a clapper. So we wish to support this bill so that we're freely able to deter these pests without harm. Also, if I may, We did receive a inspection by the Texas Agriculture Department last year, or in 2021. There were 67 questions on the
Let's see, can you do that quickly, Mr. Kosh?
Yes, I will. There are 67 questions on that inspection. Only 11 pertain to us. We were in compliance with all 11. But this is an unnecessary resource for the Agriculture Department as well to regulate us.
All right, thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Kosh. Yeah. Members, any questions for this witness? Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, the chair calls Mr. Mike Pacheco. Welcome,
Chairman.
Mr. Pacheco, and I show you as being Mr. Mike Pacheco, representing Central San Antonio and block by block, and yourself, and you're for the bill.
Correct.
Thank you, please.
Mr. Chairman, House Committee members, first I'd like to read a letter from our CEO, Matt Brown, from Central San Antonio. And Central is proud to implement a non-harmful bird abatement technique and strategies. The method we use should not fall under the umbrella of commercial devices, as we simply use party clappers to make noise and laser pointers. Our method does not fall under any of the categories stated in the House Bill number 2692. 1, device to kill, harm, trap, or collect live nuisance birds. That's not what we do. By passing this bill, it would allow us to continue to use our non-harmful method. We're having great success herding the birds out of downtown area, and by doing so, creating a cleaner, more beautiful space for our guests and local business owners. Our bird abatement program successes include a drop in the E. coli in the San Antonio River and a lot cleaner walking path for our guests with no disruption in the migratory patterns. Respectfully, Matt Brown, CEO of Central San Antonio. Now, I'm the general manager of Central San Antonio, and I've been there for 14 years. And my 14 years, I've seen a mess. Rep, you have seen it as well. You represent downtown. And the way we pressure wash is at night, and we recapture the water after we pressure wash to reduce any type of flow going into our storm drains. And it was that massive back then. The use of the simple lasers and the clappers that we have, we're using today is, we start at 5:30 in the morning and we're done by 6:30 in the morning. And then in the afternoon, we're there at 8:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. We have to do it daily. We don't do it daily. They come back to their roosting sites and they leave their mess. I'd just like to say that, I just want to show you a picture before I close this. It is the clappers that we use, and the laser pointer that we use is very simple. And then
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Pacheco.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate that. Members, any questions?
Thank you.
Hearing none, thank you. At this time, the chair calls Mr. Roy Herrera. Welcome, Mr. Herrera. We show you as being Mr. Roy Herrera with representing Front Runner Pest Control Incorporated and Texas Pest Control Association and yourself. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you're against the bill.
Yes, sir.
Proceed, please.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name's Roy Herrera. I have a pest control company, and I've been in the industry for over 25 years in San Antonio, and we service the surrounding areas. We service primarily commercial clients. I am apologetic that I need to be against the bill, but I would like to share some technical information for your consideration. Normally for bird work, we need to take in consideration the site evaluation and target pests. You know, are these pests migratory, non-migratory, protected species, non-protected species? So the knowledge of the species is very important with prescribing control and treatment methods. Depending on the bird species, issues, and location, and a variety of repellent, gels, paste, caulking, liquid spray applications, noise, lasers, and poppers might work. Additional site evaluation needs to be considered because application methods may interrupt the day-to-day operations and traffic flow of businesses in neighborhoods. Are night evening applications going to cause an issue with noise, deprive sleep from neighbors? We must evaluate property for potential issues of drift, runoff, odor, and also when using a spray application to roosting areas, structures, trees, shrubs, balconies, patios, railings, supports, etc. Proper posting and notification must be done. Does the application method warrant no notification of neighbors, neighboring businesses, and neighborhoods? We also must take into consideration the proper attire and visibility of personnel, vehicles during control application methods at all times, especially when using noisemakers, lasers, especially at night. For safety reasons, we should have all these logos and vehicles displayed. The San Antonio River is a complex, more than most sites. It has an endless supply of food, water, and habitat.
Yes, if you can conclude your testimony.
Yes, sir.
Herrera.
Due to all these considerations, potential issues when performing this type of work and any other aspect of pest management, it is important to hire a background check, trained, licensed, and insured pest management professional. Again, I thank you for your time, and
Thank
if you
you.
don't have any questions.
Thank you. Any questions, members? Yes, Ms. Representative Mish.
Thank you, Roy, for being here. You know, again, in my district, we have a problem with egrets and herons, and, you know, I just really struggle because, you know, in my business, we do have, you know, pest control license, and I understand what goes in. I just don't see where we would need to have people to have a pest control license when we're using lights. So my question is, like, when you have, so you're wanting somebody to hire a company when they're, to keep them from roosting on their mailboxes, to keep them, you know, on their streets so kids can get to school. And so I'm kind of struggling with that. And then when you're depriving people of sleep, what about when the birds are nesting and mating? To me, that's way worse. Have you heard the noise that's made?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We do bird work in San Antonio surrounding areas. As an individual homeowner, I don't understand or have seen that there's a permit required to put squawkers, noisemakers, or hang CDs to deter, you know, the cliff swallows and what have you that are in and around our porches and the grackles and what have you. But on the commercial aspect of it, when you're applying materials, whether it be a noisemaker or something, and you're out in the public, safety is a consideration and should always be a consideration on what we're doing out in the field to protect the health and welfare of the people in Texas.
So I appreciate it. I thank you for being here.
Yes, ma'am.
Members, any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Herrera.
Thank you, sir.
At this time, the chair calls Mr. Dale Burnett.
Morning.
Welcome, Mr. Burnett, and we show you as being Mr. Dale Burnett, representing Texas Pest Control Association, and yourself.
That's correct.
Okay. And you're against the bill.
Yes, I am, and I would rather not be against the bill, but I'll try to outline why I am. I congratulate Block by Block Company for their success. I think that's wonderful. But to clarify, I was a regulator for 28 years, state of Texas, majority of the time with TDA. Been in had my own company for many years. I've been on the private side for 17 years. Former president of Texas Pest Control Association. You do not need a permit from the TDA if you're an individual. You do not need a permit from TDA if you're a company that wants to do it yourself. You can do that. We have freedom in Texas to do that. Believe me, there's a lot of people do it, a lot of people polluting. These people are not polluting. They're not getting stuff in the water. That's good. There's a lot of other things to consider. I just got a notice from Parks and Wildlife and Extension Service about be careful about barn swallows. I operate 8,000-acre ranch in South Texas. I get barn swallows all the time. I don't like them. And there's certain things I can do until a certain time. And then I can't do anything because I can't disturb them, no matter what. Not with water, not with lasers. I can't do anything. So pest ID is an issue, and the training involved has to be done, whether you're licensed or not. In Texas, an apprentice with that company or my company can start work immediately. Immediately. Pay $125 to help fund what they do, to ask those 11 questions. By the way, I get asked 50 out of 67 questions. To fund them to ask those 11 questions, $125 for that apprentice. They can start work the next day, as long as they are with someone who is licensed, who has tested. That they can take 40 hours on the job and be a productive worker during that time. Then there's only 28 hours of classroom. I did the math on that last night, and out of a total work year, that'd be 3%. You have to have that much to be a dishwasher. This is very low, but yet it's important for barn swallows that keep going through all the issues here. If you took out the 40 hours for on the job, it's 1% of a year. If they pass a test, it goes down to 8 hours per year, and that's less than 0.5%. So with that, I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you putting up with my enthusiasm, and I'll close.
Thank you. Members? Yes, Representative Wilson?
Maybe not. Do we have a resource on this from TA? What's that? Sir, I'm sorry. I just want to make sure I understand. So Parks and Wildlife basically says, hey, because of certain migration periods or whatever, you can't upset the apple cart and mess with them.
On certain birds, including, I just mentioned one of many.
Okay, and that would be for somebody who's permitted or licensed,
That's
or
all
an
of us.
individual.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. That's for everybody. That's
For
me.
everybody.
That's for me and you.
Okay, and you're saying, and if I'm understanding this correctly, is if you get permitted or get a permit, then you get an education on what you can or cannot do. When you can.
That would be the goal. I would say some of the classroom training is probably not as extensive as it should be. Probably doesn't cover enough on birds, but we could say that about anything. But any company, such as Block by Block, during their 40 hours on the job, they can get as specific as they want to. That's in place. 68 hours a year. I've trained many. I've regulated many. I've also seen some other things, but they're not quite as on point as what I've just said. I don't want to, I can't go more than this because I ain't got time.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, members, any further questions? This time,
I do.
oh, excuse me,
I just wanted to
Representative Goodwin.
Thank you. I just wanted to quickly ask you, are barn swallows nuisance birds?
I think every bird can be a nuisance, but I believe barn swallows are not in the same category as grackles and pigeons. Grackles and pigeons, you can kill them. You can kill them. But certain sparrows you can, certain barn swallows you can, egrets not so. So every bird has a designation under Parks and Wildlife and under U.S. Fish and Wildlife. But I hope that answers your question.
Well,
Does it?
So I guess are barn swallows considered per U.S. Parks and Wildlife a nuisance bird?
I do not know under U.S. Parks, under U.S. Fish and Wildlife. I do not know.
But that's what I meant, Fish and Wildlife. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, members. Further questions? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
At this time, the chair calls Mr. Philip Wright. Yes, Mr. Philip Wright, thank you. We want to make a correction here. We show you, yes, that you're testifying on part of the Texas Department of Agriculture on the bill.
Yes, sir, as a resource witness.
Thank you. Proceed.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, Philip Wright, here as a resource witness with the Texas Department of Agriculture to answer any questions that you may have.
Members, it's your chance.
All right, great.
Wilson.
Thank you. I know you can't speak with Parks and Wildlife, as the other gentleman referred to.
Yes, sir.
So when they come and pull a permit,
what exactly does the permit allow them to do, and what education do they receive to facilitate that permit?
Well, first of all, I'd like to clarify, it is not a permit. It is a license.
License,
It's
okay.
an occupational
Thank you.
license.
Okay.
So there's not a permitting process in place for each time that they go out and actually do this. It's a license. So when they come in, there's certain educational requirements, and they have to start as an apprentice. And they go through a year as an apprentice working under a certified applicator. And they have to work in direct contact with that certified applicator.
Is this a license bill or a permitting bill? Yeah, okay. Okay. All righty. License or permitting?
Let's see,
Just shake your head yes or no.
Yes.
Is it licensing?
we recognize Representative Campos.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can, but go ahead.
I'm sorry?
Nothing.
Yes, it's a license.
It's a license. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Wright?
Can.
Yes, sir.
So, sir, at the end of the day, when you look at this, and I'm going to bring in some other statistics here, that, you know, what we don't want to disrupt is terms of migrant birds, all those other sorts of things, nuisance or not. But the bottom line is, you know, members, I will tell you, since research, since World War II, and in particularly in the last 14 years, the mass of birds has declined by 3 billion birds. And so I see where licensing is very, very important, especially with it comes in education and so forth like that. In your mind, does that put, if we don't licensure in this particular area, does that create a risk where we may disrupt or further disrupt or bring down the number of birds?
It could potentially. You're asking for my opinion, which as a resource witness, I hesitate to sometimes give my opinion.
I know the standard agent. I got it. Thank you.
But yes,
Deliver me from that. Just, yeah.
yes, sir, it potentially could. I mean,
Okay.
there's a million different scenarios out there. The other risk to it is you could have people working commercially that haven't been through the background checks that are required with this license as well.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Wright.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
that.
Mr. Chairman.
See, is there anybody else who wishes to testify on, for, or against House Bill 2692? Hearing none, the chair recognizes Representative Campos to close on HB 2692.
Again, thank you, committee members. HB 2692 will allow businesses and organizations to handle their business on non-invasive techniques to disperse nuisance birds for their properties, and I respectfully ask for your support. Thank you, and I close.
Thank you. Representatives, any questions?
Questions?
If there's no objection, the chair hears none, and the bill is left pending.
Thank you.